And with that, I would like to now turn it over to our friends from Rhode Island to talk a little bit about their individual project that they are working on with their qualified exempt calculator. And I will pull up their information while they come up here.
Good morning. I'm Lori Pivarnik from the University of Rhode Island while Chris fixes this. And we're part of a team, a cooperative interagency team, which often may not go together all the time, but it works well for us. It's a great group. Ananda Fraser, she's with the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management Division of Agriculture. And Sean McCormick is with Rhode Island DOH Center of Food Protection. And just let people know that he's the Excel expert now. Google search is a wonderful tool, and he has really made this thing work from an idea that we had, and has made it much bigger than we could have imagined. So kudos to him. If anybody needs him, he's for sale. So with that, what we'd like to go through is really quickly, we'd like to go through what this Excel spreadsheet hopefully does and how it might be able to help. One of the biggest things we've had with our group is sort of how to calculate, how to keep track of what the rule requires in terms of a qualified exemption. And the other piece of it, after a very spirited conversation last night, is how our inspectors really going to do all this and make sure that folks are actually qualified exempt, because they can't drill down into all the financials. So hopefully this will be one step to help the farmers and maybe a step to help the inspectors. So the very first page of this is actually a page that gives instructions. I'm not going to go through all of the instructions. What I want to point out on this page is it has a link to the site that will tell you what the inflation is for the 500,000 for the given year that you're in, so that what the farmer will do is they'll go to the site, they'll find that number, and then they have to put it in subsequent pages. So year one, whatever that year is, will have an inflation-linked 500,000 and on for 3 years. So, okay. The next page in this particular, in our QE sheet, has to do with the fact that the instructions are fine, but we all know how people really read instructions. So what we have is a template sheet that actually outlines what all these columns are for. So the farmer will have to enter the actual number for that year in terms of what the exemption amount will be, and the year. And then what happens in, I can't see it, so the first column would be the date of sale. The second column is the amount of the sale. The third column is who they're selling to, and we give them examples of what that might be so they know what we're talking about. The fourth column is a drop-down menu where you designate what those sales are, and we give them a restaurant, CSA, supermarket, wholesale distributor, farmer's market, roadside stand, and school as potential designations. And based on what they designate, it will pop up as whether it's a qualified end user or not. They don't have to make that decision. This will do it for them. And then what will happen is above you'll see total amount of sales, and then total sales that are attributed to qualified end users. And that will be what all these sheets are. So we have 3 sheets in there for 3 years. Okay. So now we're going to go to year one, and is this where you're going to, yeah.
I'll enter some stuff.
So Sean is going to enter some, what I'd like you to take a look at, if you can see them, I'm not sure you can, but as he enters, you'll see the numbers change. So when he enters in a qualified end user, you'll see that number go up and the total sales go up. Am I too far ahead of you?
Not at all.
And then when he puts in a wholesaler, you'll see the qualified end user amount stay the same, but the total sales go up. So that's how this worked. It's all automatic. The farmer doesn't have to make the decision as to whether they think this is a qualified end user or not. So year 2?
I did it.
You did it already? Oh, wow.
Well, We can go to year 2 now if you'd like.
Okay, so, but the numbers change according to who you're entering, and I know it's a little hard to see, but that, so then we have a year 2, obviously, and then year 3, ta-da. Okay, and then based on what's inputted, so you'll see that the inflation-linked value goes up, and the numbers change based on whether it's a qualified end user or not, and then the total sales based on that year. What happens now is it funnels to what we're calling an output sheet. So you want to just, and what happens is based on this output sheet, the first question is, are you making less than what the qualified exemption total is going to be? So that number will go up from 500,000 for 2011, and it goes on up based on an average. So it will say yes or no, depending on whether you fall underneath that. Then it answers the second question as to whether you are actually qualified exempt based on the number of qualified exempt users, which is should be over 50%. So what we want to show you is, so this end sheet actually can be, we are discussing in Rhode Island using this end sheet as the sort of record without having to drill down into the receipts, using this end sheet as the record that shows they've done something and that it says yes or no's in big yellow highlighted boxes. Now Sean is going to go back to year 3 and we're going to change it to show you that this actually works, that it's not yes all the time. And so as much as folks might want it.
Yeah, so I changed the wholesale distributor sale from 20,000 to 200,000, just for the purposes of showing this.
Okay, and then you can see that now it says no. Could you go up to yes up the top, please? So it's still under 500,000, so that question would be yes, but there's no celebrating yet because the other 2 questions say no. So that's how this is working. Like I said, we think it has real potential, not only for the farmer to keep track of what they're doing and make it easier for them to do it, but also for the regulator as that end page, not necessarily the other sheets, but that end page, the output page, potentially being what can be used as a record. So what we'd like, if at all possible, is we're actually going to be setting up as a poster with our computer so people can play with it. We also have copies of key pages so people can take a look at it. But we're looking to test this out. That's what we're looking. We're looking for feedback. Are the instructions clunky? Do we have to change the instructions a little bit? We're looking for farmers to take a look at this, to try to play with it, to find out whether it's useful to them and it's useful maybe to regulators. Hopefully, Sean has a sign-up sheet. If you're interested in just giving it either yourself or giving it to a couple of farmers to test out so we can have some feedback and what we need to change, that would really be great. But we think it has some real potential for both farmers and regulators. Yes, Luke. Right, the 275 miles, we did factor that in, so maybe we have to do that. So if it's less than 275 or in state, then it would work. I guess we need to factor some of that in. We didn't do that. Thank you.
No, it's a collection of sales, so they can group it in any way that makes sense to them. It's not per sale. It could be per week. It could be whatever makes sense to the grower that they can group their sales in. So if in a week you sell X amount to wholesale, and in the same week you also do 10 farmers markets and you sell X amount to that, you can group it in that way so it's simple. Thank you.
Thank you.